Joe Jones has been a guy who's been real consistent on all your team's coverages. We see him out here working with you extra a lot of times. What kind of makes a guy wired like that to take a role like that so seriously when it seems like pride might get in the way for some of these guys?
You know, I think that the big thing is he knew his role coming into it. He knew how to make this football team was on special teams, and to stay on this team is on special teams. You know, you look at that linebacker room, and there's guys that are playing up ahead of him. In order to stay here, there's great competition outside. He's got to outwork everybody.
You're a guy who's been on a lot of different special teams units and see these guys like him. How often do those guys become, you know, linebackers, starters on defense? Does that role allow these guys to kind of develop? Vance talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think so. You know, a lot of the guys that are your best players on special teams that are young players, they become your starters later. Todd Davis, you know, I'll give you an example here with this football team. But those guys that are producing on special teams, they'll go out later in their careers, you know, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, and they'll be great productive players on defense. And then we lose them, and we got to go find another one.
Tim Patrick obviously will be, you know, he's going to be one of the wide receivers. It's going to be, you know, a little bit lighter now that DT is gone, and so you're going to have him and Philip Lindsay probably starting. How are you going to be able to compensate for those guys being maybe off the special teams this week?
Right, it's next man up. You know, there's some guys, you know, below those guys at the receiver position. There's guys at running back that, you know, that got to play. Our situation, you know, with the injuries at running back, you got to go outside and got to find another position group that can help cover those roles. But we did that last week, and we'll do it again this week.
How did you think Alexander Johnson did for you on teams during the preseason?
You know, he did a great job on kickoff. He really just played more kickoff and kick return, punt return. We got to get him on punt team and see what he does. But I thought he's a very physical player. He's a hard guy to block. He's a striker. He's not a catcher. We look forward to seeing what he can do this weekend.
Striker, not a catcher. What does that mean?
Just simply when you go, you know, when you're playing, if I'm going to come block you, a lot of guys will just absorb it. He's going to strike you. If he's going to try and win downfield on kickoff cover, he's not a guy that's going to try to avoid. He's going to run through you and then shed you.
Halfway point of the season, what do you make of the new kickoff rules impact? It seems like it hasn't been much of a storyline.
I would agree. You know, I agree with you. I would bet there's still the same amount of kickoff returns as there was. The hardest thing, I'll be up front with you, is onside kicks. You know, it really has changed the game. There's only been one successful, and you can't get that start. When you're working a 10-yard box versus a 70-yard box, it's a lot different. But I see the biggest difference on onsides. And then, you know, I think that injuries, I think it's done a good job from that perspective. You know, you get more singles. The return yardage, I don't think is as much as it was before when you had the wedge. But other than that, I think the numbers are the same. I think the injuries, what they tried to do with it, I think is happening.
Have you seen the game change at all in terms of onside kicks with those rules?
Yeah, it's completely changed because you can only have 5x5 now. You used to be able to have a 6-man surface. We call it a seesaw. You used to have 6 guys on one side, 4 on the other, and all kinds of formations and movement. Can't have any movement anymore. So you know you're going to get a stagnant 5x5. Where they put them, you know, it could change, but it's really hard to get to that ball now.
So what's the most effective way to get the ball then on onside kicks?
You know, I can't give that away because we think we finally have found it. We've worked it, but the most effective way is you got to find a way to get to make those guys make a play. And if you're making a play, I got to get somebody on you to block you while you're trying to make that play. So it's just trying to take that field and shrink that field into one spot. And we've worked a lot at it, you know, and we think we're trying to finally get in there. We've seen a couple on tape that could help us.
Not a Broncos question, but what was it like for you to see Vinny break the all-time scoring record?
Oh, it was great. You know, what a great man, and deserved and earned. You know, he's worked his tail off. He wasn't ever chasing that record. He was chasing wins. He's chasing being a great teammate, putting points on the board, and it happened to the right guy.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, fellas.